Should you buy a house or wait in 2024? So I know a lot of you have been on the sidelines, but we're going to try and help give you some guidance in this video. We're going to talk about some micro factors that dictate housing prices, and we're also going to touch on macro as well, the big picture. So buying a house is a big decision. Hopefully this presentation right here will give you some clarity. So presented by yours truly, let's start with what dictates housing prices. So on the micro side of things, we have prices of comparables or comps. These are houses in the same area as yours with the same number of bedrooms, bathrooms, basically just getting a feel of what's selling for what price in that area. So number 2 leads us to the neighborhood or location. Number 3 is the home's age and condition, so what amenities the previous homeowner may or may not have made. And then also school district is a big factor for those with children. The macro factors, which is what we're actually going to focus on this video, I'm going to try and encompass sentiment for the entire country. So we start with affordability, interest rates, supply and demand, the state of the economy, and government policies and subsidies. So if you take a look at this chart right here from nar.realtor.com, this is the affordability part of the equation. So the blue bar is February of 2024, the light blue bar is February of 2023, and the numbers that you see on the screen are the median sales price of existing home sales. So the national median existing home price for all housing types reached $384,500 in February. This is actually up 5.7% from a year ago. If you look at all the regions down here from the entire U.S. to the Northeast, to the Midwest, to the South, and also the West Coast, this dark blue bar has actually gone up in every single case. This means that affordability is actually going down. However, if we take a more objective look, this is going off a national index, which is showing all of these are currently above 100. So when it's above 100, this actually means that the typical family can afford to buy based on the median priced home. An index below 100 means that a family with a median income had less than the income required to afford a median priced home. So how they figured this out was the income required to afford a mortgage, or the qualifying income, is basically the income needed so that mortgage payments on a 30-year fixed mortgage loan with a 20% down payment accounts for 25% of the family's income. So if you look at all these blue bars, they're actually going down, meaning that affordability is down across the board compared to 2023. Now, if we look at interest rates, going into the next part of our equation, you can see that a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is sitting right at 6.69% at the time of this recording. This is for the week ending of March 28th, 2024. 15-year mortgage is 5.96, and a 5-year adjustable is 7.64. So the chart that I'm showing you here right now is the 30-year fixed term for a mortgage versus the 10-year treasury. So if you look at the blue, that is the yield of the 10-year treasury. If you look at the orange line, that is the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So this is usually correlated, and that's why I wanted to show you this chart. And if you look at from July 2020, where these rates were, to where they are right now, interest rates are still relatively high over the last 5 years. So we talked about the affordability side of the equation. We talked about interest rates. Now let's plug in supply. So obviously, basic economics, if supply is greater than demand, prices need to drop to meet that equilibrium, right? Now, if demand is higher than supply, what happens to the price? It obviously goes up. So right now, at the time of this recording, inventory is actually up 5.9% from January. But it's also up 10.3% year over year from February of last year. So right now, we're sitting at 1.07 million homes for sale. Okay, so basically, the absorption rate, if you want to talk about that, it's going to take about 2.9 months to move the current level of inventory at the current sales price. This is well below the desired pace of 6 months. So this means that demand is currently outpacing inventory. Okay, so this is important because it shows you a relative amount of homes for sale and the rate at which they're being sold. So if we go to the demand side of the equation, we can look at this chart from Redfin right here. They are showing that demand is down 8% year over year. So you can see right now, this is for March 24th. It is much lower than 2023, 2021, and 2022. These statistics are basically based right here if you want to get a better perspective. This is seasonally adjusted Homebuyer Demand Index based on requests for home tours and other home buying services coming off of Redfin. So this measure tracks seasonally adjusted data, and this is actually giving me the impression that there's more supply than demand, which is what we just talked about. Prices have to go lower if supply is greater than demand. Now, if we go back to the NAR economist, this is regional existing home sales and year-over-year percentage changes. So from a year ago, all 4 regions had declines in sales in February. So the Northeast had the largest decline of 7.7%, and you can see this right here. And if you look at the Midwest, it's negative 3.7%. The South is negative 2.9%, and the West is down as well. So again, the dark blue is February of 2024. The light blue is February of 2023. So let's take a look at this chart from Realtor.com. This is showing you the median days on market. So any realtor friend is going to tell you, the amount of days that these houses sit on the market are showing you the demand side of the equation. So the more median days on market, meaning the homes are taking longer to sell. So if we look at this chart right here, the median days on market is 61. If you look at where my laser pointer is, which is actually lower than 64.5 from February of 2023. Okay, that was actually up here. So it's actually coming down. And if you look at from 2017, these peaks are actually lower and lower. But if you look at, again, the interest rate side of the equation, when interest rates are low, look at how much lower these were. It's significantly lower because homes were relatively more affordable based on their monthly payment. So what we're seeing is higher median price of these homes, which we'll touch on, but then we're also seeing, a relatively normal 61 days on market. So the last thing I wanted to touch on very quickly was basically the civilian unemployment rate, seasonally adjusted. So we talked about how economic or the greater economy is doing. So right now, we're at very low unemployment rates. We're at 3.9%. So when I graduated college in December of 2010, we were close to 10%. And look at where that is now. Okay, we're almost 6.1% lower than that right here. So the economy is still relatively doing well from an unemployment standpoint. And I truly believe that unemployment is the glue that kind of holds everything together. So when people have jobs, they're able to make their payments, right? And that's why foreclosures and everything were so high after the crash of 2008. That's what this gray bar is. These gray bars indicate recessions, as you can see right here, and then also right here. So let's get into my thoughts. So affordability, although affordable based on NAR metrics, it is decreasing. We saw that in the first slide. Median sales price is increasing to $384,500 for these homes, which is obviously increasing. Mortgage rates are still higher than average, although they are down from the 8% in October of 2023. We have homebuyer demand being down 8% year over year based on Redfin's touring metrics. We also have unsold listings that are up 10.3% from last February. Existing home sales are down across all 4 regions, which we saw. And then the days on market are actually slightly lower from a year ago, but they are still at that 60-day mark that we've seen in that chart. So ultimately, what is the conclusion here? So it all boils down to supply and demand and interest rates. So if we keep seeing higher interest rates, higher prices, and lower demand, prices do have to come down. Will that happen? Yes, it happens in some areas like Boise or Austin, for example. We've seen significant drops in those home prices in those markets. But overall, I still think we're still relatively going to be where we're at. So with all that being said, you have to keep in mind that ultimately our perspective here at NerdWallet is to buy at a time that feels right for you. It has to be a personal decision. That's why a lot of what I talk about here is personal finance. Housing market trends, yes, they give important context, but whether this is a good time to buy a house also depends on your financial situation. You can have certain life goals in mind. You can have career goals in mind. And ultimately, you have to be ready to become a homeowner and bear that responsibility because there's a lot of expenses outside of what I just shared in this video, outside of supply and demand and interest rates and mortgage and insurance and things like that. So I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can say based on these metrics is that we are starting to see certain pressure for prices coming down. Again, it's probably going to chop sideways until we have significant interest rate and supply and demand moves. But until that happens, we'll probably be right where we're at for the year of 2024. If this video was helpful to you, please subscribe down below for more videos like this. I like to mix up visuals with data. Hopefully I didn't bore you to death, but always remember to hit the bell notification and subscribe for more. Thank you so much.